Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Brett Tippie podcast. I'm Brett Tippie, and I'm here with an old buddy of mine, Mark Matthews, BC boy mountain biker. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this is cool. I'm on the island right now. We did Tiana Smith, Stevie Smith's mom, last night on the podcast, and then we did the Stevie Smith Memorial downhill. So I'm here at Mount Washington, and you're an island boy, so I thought I would get you on the show and have a word with us. Longtime mountain biker, and talk bikes. We love bikes.
Yeah, it's great to see you, man.
Yeah,
it's
you too. Been a while.
Especially with COVID and everything, you see people less often, right?
Yeah,
it's cool.
You're
on the island. I was like, yeah, Brett's around.
Totally. Yeah, I know. It's nice to see everyone again and rub elbows and catch up. I wish we had time to go for a ride, but I got to catch the ferry back. But we'll get a podcast here and talk about your love of bikes and your history and everything you got going on. So I was super stoked last year when you won the GoPro Line of the Year, and I just read on your Instagram you've got like over 350,000 followers, so just killing it and doing some great content. Always check out your POVs, and I remember back in the day when I first met you, it was I think it was an Air Apprentice. You won Air Apprentice, the NSMB.
That was like contest. 2012.
2012.
So almost 10 years now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
time flies, eh?
Yeah, I know.
Latin for time flies is tempus fugit. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, Latin. It's a little Latin on the show for this episode. I made up my own Latin saying, actually. Carpe diem is seize the day.
Yep.
Live for now or whatever.
Yeah.
I made my own. Carpe nocturno. Seize the night.
Yeah. Sounds like you.
Yeah, totally. But enough about me and more about you. What you think of me.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. Let's go back to the beginning.
Okay.
You're an island boy. Born and raised, eh?
Yeah. Grew up in Victoria, or I guess North Saanich, just outside of Victoria. And the island's always been home.
Yeah.
So traveled around. Lived in different parts of the province, mostly between Whistler, Vancouver, and here.
Yeah.
And I've been back on the island the last 5 years. So it's just home for me, and it's where I feel most at home, and I love it here.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when you were living in Victoria, I understand you didn't start riding a bike until you were like 12.
Yeah, not like really riding a bike and following mountain biking. It was like the first Disorder films and Ride to the Hills that got me into mountain biking.
Yeah.
So that was around that time that I
So
really
you're like, you came after Cranked.
Yeah, I did. I watched some of it, but I think the first Cranked I saw was like Crank 3.
Oh, yeah.
So I had to watch some of the old ones. Yeah.
Okay. And what was your first bike?
My first mountain bike was a Kona Hahanna. It was like a little Kona hardtail, like super Hawaiian looking, when they really went with that theme in like late 90s, early 2000s. And I did have an old Specialized BMX too, a TJ11 BMX. So I was really into like riding trails in the area and then jumping on the BMX bike. Yeah. That's kind of that's what really got me into riding, and just like having the variety around us to hit everything. And I was trying to figure out what I liked the most.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where did you ride back then around Victoria?
Yeah, there's a place called The Dump. Have you heard of The Dump?
No.
So there's the Heartland landfill, which is literally the landfill for all Greater Victoria.
Yeah.
They gave mountain bikers a place to ride right above it on Mount Work. And it's, people kind of joke about it. It's not like, especially if you're into free riding and jumping, it's not the greatest place. It's just a cross-country network, but it has like tons of rock slabs and really technical riding. So I grew up learning how to ride like steep stuff and lots of up and downs. And I would ride a mix of that and dirt jumping. And I really found a love for dirt jumping when I was quite young. Like I would say like 14 years old, I was really into it. I would like watch the old Disorder films, and like all the sections of like Hell Track and the jump segments of like John Cowan and those guys got me really fired up. And my dad let me build a few little dirt jumps on the side of the yard. And then I pushed for a dirt jump park actually in my area in North Saanich. That was the municipality I grew up in outside of Victoria.
You pushed for it? You did like a petition? Or
I wrote a letter to the city council, and it actually took a few years before they were convinced we could do something. But
how old are you doing this? 12 years old?
Like 14.
14?
Yeah. And like it was kind of like a letter to the city with a friend that we wrote. And then the first response, we were kind of like written off a little bit, right? And then my dad's like, well, you really want this, just keep doing it. And he was like super supportive and would drive us to council meetings like on weeknights after school. And it was honestly like a couple of years of that, like before they were really like, okay, yeah, you can build here. And then we had the next challenge of like,
they took you seriously. Like, how did they give you a phone call or a letter or what?
Just getting more friends involved and like getting more riders out to meetings, and then we'd have like 20 plus kids there. Like we want dirt jumps, right? And then that came like, I think the biggest barrier was the liability, right? Like dirt jump parks weren't a thing, and like this was like 2002, 3, 4. Dirt jump parks weren't a thing like they are now. Like Jay Hoots had a few parks, but no other bike parks were really around, especially in BC. Which is kind of funny. Like you go, like Whistler was our blueprint. We had nothing else. So trying to convince them that these 15-year-old kids knew what they were doing wasn't the easiest thing to do. But we got more support. We got more community support. We had a local hotel owner, Dennis Paquette. He hustled so hard for us. He got the Rotary Club involved. They raised money for a pump track, and that kind of, there was some other stages that happened before that. But when that happened a few years later, like it really jump-started the park, and we had like a couple different jump lines, a pump track, and a full hectare square of land right behind the municipal hall that they let us use.
And how far was that from where you lived?
About like a 10-minute bike ride, so it was pretty awesome.
Wicked.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. And it's funny, by the time the park got really sick, I moved out of my parents' house because I was like 21. But you know what? Well, great things take time, right? So that was cool. And I remember like the very early days, like when we first started stacking dirt in the lot, we got support through Jay Hoots. He actually was like, yeah, come to like, I think it was like Inter River Bike Park or something in North Van. You might know that little park. Yeah. There was like old fence they had they didn't need anymore. He let us take all that fence because the biggest liability barrier that the city had was if we can't fence in where you're riding, so we need to make sure it's like no one can come in when it shouldn't be open. They're really worried about it being open in rough conditions when it was really muddy. Okay. So they said we had to have a fence, but it was hard to fundraise. So my dad and I went over for the day. We loaded up his truck with a fence, and then that same weekend, we had like a bunch of kids come out and we installed a fence around the whole piece of land. And then we had a fenced off piece of land. So even though we didn't have like good jumps yet, just some piles of dirt, like we had a fence and we had land, and it was a start. Yeah. That fence is still there now. So it stayed up.
You did a good job.
Yeah, it worked out. Yeah. That was a really fun thing to be a part of, and just seeing how that evolved, and like that really, like, from being a kid who like selfishly wanted jumps for myself, it had this huge community impact, which is really cool. Like it became a way bigger thing than I ever thought it would. Yeah. Which is really neat to see. Like I go there now if I go to visit, and you see like multiple families riding on the beginner lines, and you see like the local kids. Like there's some kids who were like 12 years old when I was like 20 and would go there, that were like learning like no footers and stuff, right? You go there now, they're doing like flip combos and all this crazy stuff, and it's because they had that training grounds. So it's unreal, like what happened. It's like, wow, this is crazy. So
things snowball sometimes.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's really cool to see that happen.
Yeah. You get momentum going. And,
yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So who were you riding with a lot back then?
Yeah, at that age, I was riding with like lots of high school friends that didn't really stick with riding for more than a couple years. But there was like the core crew of Victoria riders who were really passionate about it. So I'm sure you know like Andrew Sherry.
Yeah, Shrew.
Yeah, Shrew. Shrew Tech.
Yeah.
We call him because he was like really techy with his spin tricks.
Yeah.
And then there was Luke Fulton. So he's still a good buddy of mine. He still shreds, actually.
I saw him. Yeah. He's wheeling Harleys now.
Oh, yeah. He loves the Harleys. Yeah. And then there's Jarrett Moore.
Yep.
He was awesome slope style rider too. And
didn't he go on to become like a doctor or
something?
Yeah,
like a surgeon. He's living in Calgary now and going to medical school, or he might have just finished. And he's like a doctor now. So really good rider, really smart guy. So like those three guys were kind of the three I probably rode with the most. And then there was like a lot of our Victoria riders that would kind of come and go over the years that were sick riders. But like that crew really was really awesome for me to have, because
that's what I remember for being like the Victoria.
Yeah, that was like Victoria crew. Yeah, like dirt jumps after school, go meet each other. We all lived in different areas of town, like at least 10 to 20 minute drive apart from each other, but we would all like meet in this one area every time and dirt jump together. And it was mostly dirt jumping, but we did other things too. But yeah, it was really cool. It was nice to have that crew.
Wow, what a good time in your life.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Like just 10 minutes from your house.
Yeah, exactly.
Or your parents' house.
Yeah, there was that jump park, but there was also like lots of little legal spots that we had, or places on private land. Like Luke has a dirt jump line on his parents' property, and that line is still there now. And he actually like has his own house on that same property, and the jumps have evolved and they're still sick today. So it's really cool to see like these core little Victoria spots that are still there.
Yeah, that's awesome, because there's a lot of trails, and a lot of people equate, you know, Victoria riding and down the South Island with the cross country.
Yeah,
there's a lot of cross country, and there's a lot of like amazing cross country racers that have, you know, trained out of Victoria, because the weather is quite moderate compared to the rest of Canada, where it's like blizzards, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But you guys, you know, held fort down for the dirt jumps.
Yeah, we kept that scene alive. It was like cross country riding, dirt jumping, and then little pockets of illegal free ride zones. It's like there's a free ride zone above my parents' house I built. Like I remember like going after school and like just digging, and it was like between two lots. So there's like a house here, a house there. So the road splits, and then there's like a big chunk, like big triangular section of forest. We probably have like enough elevation for like a 30-second to 1 minute trail, so pretty short.
Yeah.
But I built like multiple lines parallel to each other, and it's right below where the park line meets. And it's private property, but the landowners put up a sign years ago and they never tore anything down. And the jumps still stand today. Like there's like sessionable freeride lines. Like you can go in there and hit like 7-8 hits in a row and then just go up and session it. And they're like 4 downhill bikes. It's really cool.
That's amazing.
So it's awesome that place is still there. Yeah.
After all these years.
Exactly. It's really neat.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So you rode there for years, and then after you graduated, you moved up to Whistler.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, just for the summers. I was like just really eager to like learn about living on my own, you know, and like Whistler was like a dream place to be as a kid, right?
Yeah.
Mountain biking. And so I was there for the summer of 2007 and 8.
Okay.
And living with a couple friends, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you hitting the bike park mainly, or were you getting into the valley as well?
Yeah, I got a job as a bike park guide. So just like guiding part-time. And then I was working other jobs like for like the start of summer in Victoria. Like I was basically working construction and then working as a guide and then just riding as much as I could.
Which is a lot when you're a guide, right?
Oh, exactly. But like you don't get to like shred when you're a guide. You're taking out beginners.
Yeah.
But I would literally ride the bike park as much as I could those 2 summers. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I pretty much didn't leave the village those 2 summers. Just shredded every day in the bike park. It was sick. Yeah.
You get so strong when you go every day.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And with a lot of calluses.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. And you wear a lot of back tires.
Oh yeah, yeah. Especially being like a broke kid, pretty fresh out of high school, like trying to afford bikes, living in Whistler. It was it was a struggle.
It's nuts.
Yeah,
right? It's tough.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So you went from Whistler, and in 2009 you lived with Jordie Lunn.
I did. Yeah.
And Eric Lornack in North Vancouver.
Yeah.
I was living with Jordie Lunn and Eric Lornack.
That was really fun.
Must have been a good time.
Yeah. Like so right after Jordie's event in 2009, Fresh Air, him and Eric were talking about living together, and they had actually just got a place in North Van, and they're like, oh, we could use another roommate. And I was like, well, this would be a lot of fun. So yeah, I wanted to move in, and I wanted to like move out more permanently because I hadn't actually like lived on my own full time before, just summers. And yeah, just went for it, moved in with them. Our first place we had was so ghetto. I remember my dad dropping me off and laughing about it because it was like an illegal suite. It was in Lynn Valley. And my room, like I had the cheapest room for rent out of the other 2 guys.
Yeah.
But my room was like boxed in. It was like an illegally made room with no windows or anything.
Come on.
I was like, this is sketchy. And then like the first month living there, the landlord just kicks us out with no good reason. He's like, you guys just have to leave. And we're like, well, I remember my dad being so angry, telling him what was going on. Like, what do we do? I've never dealt with a landlord like this before. He's like, oh, it's super illegal. You should like come after them. And we were kind of just like, oh, whatever. We need a better place to live anyways. And then we found a really awesome place right off Lonsdale. And it became our place for the next couple of years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had the nice like big top floor of a house and a little backyard and fire pit and a bike shed, and it was sweet. It was a good setup for us.
And then you were hitting the bridge jumps and free riding the shore?
Yeah. I was like, I really wanted to ride full time. Didn't really know what I was doing. I mean, obviously I really looked up to Jordie at the time, but he was like quite established. So it was more of just like wanting to hang out with him and party. And then Eric was riding and working for Cove Bikes at the time. And I was just kind of, just hanging out, working landscaping jobs, riding as much as I could on weekends and after work, and bridge jumps, doing a little bit of trail building on the shore, kind of a little bit, not really building. I was trying to ride, but not getting amazing results in slopestyle events. I've always been more about like tricks and or more about like flow and simple tricks than big combos. And I never had a lot of fun like trying to learn really gnarly combo tricks on jumps. So I'd go to a slope event, maybe 360 off a drop and do a trick here and there, but it was never enough to really get at the podium. And I had a blast doing it, but I was like, man, this isn't going to be a job for me. So I had to kind of figure something else out. And I think that's when I really found like my niche with trail building.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I can build unique trails and stand out that way. And just like the process of it was a lot of fun for me. I think I loved it just as much as riding it, like just creating a trail. And that's when kind of our time in North Van was kind of ending a little bit. Like Jordie was not really living at the house anymore. He was at his girlfriend's place all the time. And Eric was staying there, but I was kind of ready to move back to the island. And I started going to university in Victoria and then went back to Whistler in the summers. And I kind of did that for a couple of years before.
Where were you taking university?
I went to a program. It was like a sport and fitness leadership program. So it was basically like business school mixed with sports, which was perfect for me.
Yeah, totally.
So it was like, it was at Camosun, and it was through PICE, so Pacific Sport Institute. And a lot of the classes we had crossed over with Camosun's business program. That's actually when I met Rupert Walker, because we were going to the same campus. Yeah, and he was like in the business school. So like some crossover classes, and then
was he shooting yet then?
A little bit, yeah. One of the first videos.
Because he
did together.
Rupert Walker, he does like a lot of Saanich videos.
Yeah. One of the first videos we actually shot together was it was in Victoria. We skipped classes, and it was on like I remember he had his ghetto cable cam. You know, with that yellow rope, like that really coarse rope that doesn't roll smooth. It was like, and that was like a makeshift cable cam on like a little Canon DSLR, and we like. I remember just like skipping out on class to go shoot with them, and it was fun. We did a little edit. What was it called? I think it was called like Island Winter or something. It was on Pink Bike, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Did pretty well. It was a fun little thing to shoot.
Yeah.
And then that I was like, obviously I got through school fine, but I just wanted to shoot videos after doing little projects like that. Like it was like 2 years before I did What's Next with Aaron LaRock. Yeah. So I shot that, and I hadn't really shot much living with Eric and Jordie. That was kind of right after What's Next. And I just wanted to do more video projects, but I had to find out unique ways to do it right.
Yeah.
So I just started building my own trails and doing lots of stuff like that, and always hand built too. I like doing hand built things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
Interesting. So when was Air Apprentice? 2012?
That was 2012. Yeah.
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 The NSMB.
Yeah.
The North Shore Mountain Bike website.
Yeah.
And so you went up to that at SoStar and you won.
I did win. Yeah.
And I was announcing.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, way back in the day.
Yeah.
And once you won, you got on the NSMB team.
Yeah, so that was awesome.
You got a bunch of sponsors and team sponsors and whatnot.
Yeah.
You always had to wear your NSMB jersey for every shoot and whatnot, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And like what was cool about that though was like that sponsorship meant a lot to me, because it wasn't just like winning on the weekend. Like they loved watching me ride over the weekend, but they were considering riders based on more than just their riding, right? So it wasn't just like personality in riding. It was also like, what other things are you doing to be like a great marketable athlete, right? And that's when I put out a video with Aaron LaRock, another video called Sweat Equity that same year, which was like a trail I had built while going to university. I'd like go out there and build after school every day.
Yeah.
And I built that line over like a year and a half, and then I filmed it over a week. And
with Aaron LaRock.
Yeah, and it got like hundreds of thousands of views. And
Aaron LaRock was like the VOD king of the day.
He was. And that video killed it.
Day.
And that video is like one of the real deciding factors for them too. They're like, oh, you're doing videos like this. You rode really well this weekend. And like, we think you'd be a really good fit for the team. So like, that was really awesome. And then my really good friend Mason Michon was already on the team. And he was a photographer.
Yeah.
So we just teamed up the next 2 years, and we like did tons of road trips together with NSMB, and Mason and I shot together all the time and did some like really amazing trips. Like that was my first time up to Farwell Canyon, doing like big street slope rides. And
did you know I was the first rider to ride?
Were you? Oh man, that's sick.
I did the first ascent down.
Really? Yeah. It was like right after
for Crank 2.
I remember Where the Trail Ends coming out right after we did that trip.
Yeah.
And I watched that movie and I got so fired up because like half the zones from Farwell we had like been to, and I was like, I know that line. And it was so sick. Like I like fell in love with big mountain riding after that trip.
Yeah.
And after those couple of years there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Mason Michon has gone on, continued to be an amazing photographer.
For sure. Yeah. His photos are unreal.
Yeah. And actually, Snowboard Magazine rated him one of the top 10 snowboard photographers.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Which I thought was really cool. So you're on your way, you know,
Yeah.
you're killing it. You're a sponsored rider, and you know, you're doing more and more big mountain stuff as opposed to the slope styles, which you were doing for a while.
Fell in love with big mountain riding, man. After Farwell Canyon, like, you know, the feeling of just like surfing down the mountain on your bike. And like, I always felt comfortable like on big jumps, big drops, and I love the big mountain stuff. And like, it was like a dream to do something like Rampage or all those big lines. I was like, this is way more my calling than slope style.
Yeah,
I can still do big tricks that aren't like just like video game tricks, you know.
Yeah.
And I can just have an awesome time in the mountains, and that's what I fell in love with it. Especially in 2012 after that trip to Farwell, I was like, wow, this is my life. So sick.
Well, your dream was to do Rampage, and you did do Rampage.
I did.
But then your dream turned into a nightmare.
A little bit. Yeah, I mean, it was a cool experience. I remember showing up there and being like, oh my God, this is terrifying. Yeah. Just looking at the Canyon Gap and looking at the Oakley Sender. This was in 2013.
Yeah.
And I knew I could send all that stuff, but I was looking at guys like Zink. I'm like, well, he's probably going to try to flip this or something ridiculous. So I need to find a way to stand out. And I think I was like so passionate about that type of riding that I was like, I need to find a way to stand out in this contest. Like, I know as sick it is to go to Rampage and just like get a cool run to the bottom. Like, if you're not like doing something people are going to remember, like, what's the point of even being here? That was kind of my attitude. I was like a very aggressive, competitive attitude because I just felt so confident about that style of riding. And I teamed up with Mitch Chubby, and we road tripped down there together. We had a really good crew. We had John Rempel, a good friend of mine from Whistler. He was one of the builders. And then Casey Dean was another builder for us. And we all teamed up. We picked our own line off the very top. And then we chose G. Atherton's line that he crashed on the year before. It was like a big sender gap into a transfer right beside a cliff edge. And
he crashed hard.
He went like straight into the cliff. It was crazy. Yeah.
He lost his angle of his line.
And just bounced right off his bike. Yeah, so we wanted to make that a bit safer. The reason I think that happened to him is because it was completely blind. So we opened up the step down. We made it wider of a takeoff, boosted up the takeoff a bit. And then we made the landing wider. That was the biggest part of our build, was like chipping away at that landing. And then we connected it into the bottom half of Tyler McCall's line from the year before. And we were just going to like maybe switch up a few little things here and there. And that was kind of the idea. And Mitch and I were so scared of the G. Atherton gap because we had rebuilt it. It was like, I wouldn't say bigger, but like maybe a little more floatier and more opened up. So like probably safer all in all. But we even spray painted paint on the takeoff so we knew the angle to go off at.
Smart.
Because it was like a big cliff on your left. If you went too far left, you're like falling down. You're just tumbling down a cliff.
Yeah.
If you go too far right, there's a cliff side.
There's a wall.
You can hit a wall. So we spray painted a line, and then Mitch was like, I'm going to wait till qualifiers to hit this. I'm like, I just want to get this out of the way. I took like one run in, and second run in, I just went for it.
Did you?
Yeah. And
you broke your femur, didn't you?
I did, yeah. So I followed the line, but I didn't follow the line perfectly because I was nervous. I was like, I don't want to go off down the cliff. So I'm going to hug the inside of that line and stay safe and be a little closer to the cliff side. And I mean, I was way more on line than it would have been before. So rather than like airing straight into the cliff like G did the year before, my pedal just clipped the cliff and my tire.
On your landing?
Right above the landing. Like you come in, landing was here, and like my pedal clipped the cliff. And just the impact from that, because I'd already been in the air for quite a while.
Yeah.
My front end just like dipped, and it was just like a straight nose bomb. And like, so I wouldn't land on my head. I just leapfrogged off the bike, and I basically just blacked out with fear. I don't know what happened.
Really?
I just like hit the ground like bam, like getting hit by a truck.
Yeah.
And I looked at the footage. I did a slow front flip and landed on my leg. So I'm super lucky it wasn't my back or something. I was insanely lucky. Like I came so close to it being like
very bad.
Very, very bad. Yeah. And like even the way my femur broke, it was like broken in multiple places, right below my hip, and yeah, super gnarly. Yeah.
But you blacked out from fear.
Kind of. Like I don't remember. Not even fear. I don't remember feeling fear. I just remember my like mind going blank and then hitting the ground.
Yeah.
Like because I'm like floating through the air, high speed, no control of my body or my bike. Oh, yeah.
It's a huge jump.
The funniest thing, one of the first responders was Bender, because he's the judge there, right?
Yeah.
One of the judges, and he knew what it was. I was like, I think I might have dislocated my hip or something. I can feel my toes, so I'm like, I'm pretty stoked. And then there's like paramedics on me. They're like, don't move, right? I'm like, I'm okay. Bender looks at me. He's like, that's your femur, bro. He's like, I've done it. You'll be all right. I was like, oh my God, Bender, child hero. Yeah, it was something along those lines. It was so funny.
You'll be all right.
Yeah. It's
just your femur.
It's just your femur. Yeah. He knew. Yeah. Pretty funny.
Oh wow. Yeah. That's a wild experience.
It was, yeah, because that was like my first year.
So who did that first? Was it Steve Romanek?
That did that gap?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're thinking the exact same one. So Romo did one that was like a step down transfer. And there's a big wall.
But you hit to the left. And then
so this was actually above that. That line was gonna be in my run. That was part of Tyler McCall's line the year before. I think Tyler hit that. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But no, this was above that. So did you see the
Dorfling hit it?
Dorfling hit that. So not that same line. My line was actually higher up than that. It was the 1G actually like smashed his like.
He went right into the wall.
Like bottom bracket into a wall line.
Yeah.
That one.
I know the line. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was that sender. I actually I was down in Virgin 2 years ago, and I walked up there just to look at it. I was like, what was I thinking?
Right.
Like not because of the size, but just how sketchy it was. Like even now being a more confident, more experienced rider, like I would be comfortable hitting something that size, but not that setup. I would pick a smarter line. So like that, I think like the environment.
You're young, you're hungry, you know.
The environment Rampage puts you in too, right? Like so competitive, and I think like the environment played a big factor on me, and I realized like I never did that one slopestyle events. I've never been a very good racer. Rampage just kind of I just realized like maybe I'm just like not like the right kind of athlete for this kind of environment, because like I don't.
You're not a competitive free rider.
Like I'm a competitive person in my own way, but like I don't perform on those environments. I don't know what it is. There's some sort of mental block, and I've tried to fight through it, but even if I'm not scared of the feature, I'm focused on my riding. Something happens to me, and looking at that feature, I was like, why did I do this? Like I could have done something way sicker over there. But it's pretty intimidating showing up to an event like Rampage where you're a rookie and everyone else is experienced and they know what they're doing, and you know how it is out there, people fighting for lines, and I want to be very respectful to the other athletes. I don't want to cross someone else's line, and I need to like do the right thing, but also at the end of the day, it's about winning the event. So it's like kind of a balance, right? Like respecting the culture of the event and also trying to perform well for yourself.
Yeah.
And I've always found that to be a bit of a challenge in that sort of environment.
Well, it is a strange thing that it's a free ride event, and free riding is the absence of competition.
Exactly.
In a sense, it's in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a free ride event, so you're kind of trying to compete while you're free riding.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird.
It's tough. Yeah.
So it's different.
I feel like almost everyone who's been to Rampage has had a similar experience in a way, especially people who are new to it when they're coming into it, like in the more recent years. Because there's so many experienced guys out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been there for years.
Yeah.
Totally. Oh, wow. So you broke your femur, like Bender said, you would heal up. You did heal up.
Yeah.
But then you had to reinvent yourself.
For sure.
Once you were riding again, and you wanted to do this, and be on your bike. So, you came back to BC, and then you lived with Jeff Kelovich.
I did. Yeah.
In North Vancouver again.
It was right after my injury was a huge struggle for me, because NSMB team was like not getting the support they were before, and with me being injured, I didn't know how long I could ride for, and they were like, and there was like that wasn't like a paid thing either, right? It's like bikes and some budget to go on trips that we're sponsoring, and it was like a start. And then I was talking to some brands that year, then I got injured, and those conversations kind of ended. Because it's like,
for any sponsorship.
Yeah, because it's like, you're this up and coming rider. Now you're hurt and you can't ride. And you don't know how long you can ride for. So it makes it really tough. But Ryan Bearcloth was working for Nolly, and he was bugging me like months leading up to Rampage, like just wanting to get meetings with me. He thought it'd be a good fit for Nolly. And then right when I moved in with Jeff, I was really focused on my recovery, and I just wanted to live with Gully because he's such a good influence. Like the dude's so passionate about mountain biking and just wants to ride.
He's an awesome dude.
And he's an awesome dude, and like. Yeah, like everything about living with him is great, and it was a great influence for me. Like even if I couldn't ride yet, just being in that environment. And I remember meeting with Ryan Bearcloth when I was living with Jeff. I was like still on a cane because I couldn't quite walk yet, and he just sat me down and he was like, "Hey, just straight up with me, like, what's your plan for recovery? What timeline are we looking at? And like, what can you do for us once you can ride again?" And he was like, very straight up about it and wanted honesty from me. And I told him it was going to be like at least a few months till we farm riding. I could maybe do a team trip early summer, and this was my plan for recovery. Like I was really focused with like yoga, good nutrition, like not drinking. I was like really taking care of my body and my nutrition and my health, and I was recovering really strong, like way ahead of what the local doctors had anticipated. They were saying like, oh, after 9 months you'll still be messed up and you won't be riding yet. So I was like really motivated to kind of
You're like, hold my beer, hold my protein drink.
Yeah, hold my protein drink. Yeah. Hold my Whole Foods. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I kind of went for it, man. Like I worked at a bike shop, different bikes in West Vancouver part-time. So I'd like commute there, was living with Jeff, was working just enough to pay rent, and then I was focusing on riding and recovering. And Nolly was giving me a tiny bit of money every month and some frames, and that was enough to get me started. And then Ryan was awesome. Like he helped me with other sponsors as soon as I was back on the bike, just pedaling laps up Mount Frome. He would like he got me on SR Sun Tour and IXS, and they were both paying me all of a sudden. And I already had like a pretty good online following at that point, so I had that bit of leverage still, and I was able to just to like go out, do fun adventure content. And then that summer, it was July 2014. So that summer was my first Riga ride.
Oh my God.
And that was my first Riga ride happened when I was first able to ride jumps again on my bike. So I was able to finally ride jumps again. And then I'd been climbing for the first time in my life. I'd never even climbed, so I wasn't that fit. I was a dirt jump kid who rode downhill bikes, right? So I was starting to get fit. I was starting to get fit kind of. I could hit jumps on the shore. And then Riga invites me on a 2-day Chilcotin trip.
So Marcus Riga, for those that don't know, is a photographer who is ultra fit and just a madman, a savage. He loves the pain. His favorite saying that I love that he says is, "It doesn't have to be fun to be fun." And he's like a cross-country level pedaler.
Yeah.
Up and down mountains with a camera pack, riding gnarly trails too, but he's just a savage, and he likes to hurt himself, and he likes to go for multi-day trips. So
yeah,
you went for a ride with him in the Chilcotins.
I did, and he was funny. I'd never been to the Chilcotins before, and like it was so beautiful. It was awesome. Never been on honestly, if I tried to do an enduro race then, in the fitness level I was at, I was still figuring out what a dropper post was. So I was like, I got a drop. I remember getting a dropper put on my bike for that trip. Because I was just getting back into riding and just starting to pedal, right? So I was like, yeah, I need to get a dropper post because I'm pedaling my bike more now. And I had no idea what I was getting into, man. I was dying, and him and Garrett Buell were laughing at me because I was struggling so much on the climbs. And I remember talking to Riga on the phone the night before. He's like, okay, here's the deal. So we're going to go out here. We're going to go way past Tax Lodge. We're just going to go to our own zone. This is going to be way cooler than anywhere in the Chilcotins you've ever been. I'm like, well, I've never been on the Chilcotins, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty sick, man. He's like, no, this will be sick. He's like, so you'll come pick me up. So we're driving my truck up there. He's telling me what to pack, and he's like, just pack light. Don't bring too much food. He's like, we'll get stuff and we'll sit on the way. And he's like, but don't pack too much food. We got to keep it light and just pack nice and light. So I brought a sleeping bag, an extra change of clothes, and a bunch of trail mix, energy bars, and stuff that was quick just to throw on the fire. We had salami and sandwiches, right? And we finally get in there. It was dark. We drove way past Tax, just camped in this little field. Actually, I think the time we got there, we started pedaling. Yeah, we had a 4-hour pedal to where we were going to camp out. And I had my sleeping bag and my clothes, and right away I knew it was going to be too heavy for what we were planning. And Riga just starts helping me. He's like, yeah, take that out of your bag, that out of your bag. And literally all I had was a sleeping bag and trail mix and some snacks. It's for 2 days. And I was like, you told me not to bring much food. I didn't know what we were getting into, right? So the first day was a 4-hour ride, and we camped we just camped on a river, right beside a river in a little field on our sleeping bags. It was a sleeping bag, bike, nothing else, a bunch of water. And I was wearing this giant backpack too, this giant camelback I had at the time. It was a huge bladder, so I had enough water for the trip. And I was dying just on that 4-hour ride. And the next ride, Riga had this idea. He's like, well, we were just supposed to do photos for Nolly, but we're going to do a video now. I'm thinking a black and white video to some Black Sabbath. It'll be really cool. This really fun idea. So we did 3 mountain peaks that day, and it turned into it was more than a 12-hour day. And I had never done climbing like that before. And we had no idea where we were. He has a pretty good sense, but we were definitely lost for a few points in the day. We had like no phone service, no GPS beacons, no emergency plan. I don't even know if we had a proper first aid kit on us.
You got re-good.
I got totally re-good. And then I remember being so tired. Like, this is 8 hours into the ride. We still had probably at least 4 hours to go. And it was 8 hours into the ride. We started at like 7 a.m. And I'm like going up this really long climb. I just feel like I was going to die from exhaustion. Like, I literally couldn't keep moving my legs. And then Riga he's like, well, you got a coffee mug or something? So I like pull out an empty coffee mug. He just fills it with coffee grounds for me. It's like, there's a river over there. Just like stir up with a stick and coffee grounds in the river. And I just like slam like 4 cups of cold coffee and it give me just enough energy to get up the hill. And then I remember being like so exhausted, like wanting to die. And we'd already like got a ton of photos and video clips that day. So we're just trying to get down and
probably some of the best photos you've ever had.
Oh, they're amazing. Yeah.
He's an unbelievable photographer.
Yeah, I remember like hitting this like amazing rib in a single track through like on those sections of the Chilcotins where you're like in the forest, but it's wide open forest with like long grass. Yeah. Just like flowing. And I'm like so tired I can barely steer, but I'm still having the time of my life. And then we get into an opening and the sunset is like insane. It's like super pink and orange. And Riga's like, okay, more photos. Pulls out the camera, he makes us hike the section like 10 times to get some shots, and then by the time we're done with the photos, it's like almost dark and I'm like, dude, where are we? He's like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, well, did we bring lights? Like, you didn't tell me to bring like a riding light, because I didn't think we'd be riding at night. And I think we had like one headlamp between 3 dudes, like proper riding headlamp. So we had like Garrett Bueller in the middle because he had that proper headlamp, and the rest of us were like our little camping headlamps. My headlamp had died after the first night, so I had no light at the back. And then we got the front with this little camp light, and we're like trying to get out of there. And we're like in grizzly country, so it's gnarly out there, especially when it's getting dark out. And the last 2 hours of the ride, I think we were in the pitch black. And then we recognized where we were for the last hour, and we made our way back to camp. And I remember like having some more food in a cooler in the back seat of my truck, and then I had some beers in the box. I remember like eating a banana, slamming a beer, and then just passing out in the box of my truck. I didn't even set up my sleeping bag or anything. And I think Bueller did something similar. And then I woke up in the morning and Riga is sleeping up against a tree somewhere. I was like, yeah, this is fun. And then I had to rush back to work that afternoon. It's like, that was like early morning, but I had like an afternoon shift at the bike shop in West Van.
Oh my God.
So I had to get back to work. And yeah, it was funny, like Crankworks a few weeks later, Marcus's wife came up to me. She's like, I heard you went on your first Riga ride. I was like, yep, changed my life. I like adventures now. Yeah,
you survived your first Riga ride.
That was really cool. Yeah.
You done got Riga.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you've done a few of those with him.
Oh, I've done many years of Riga rides.
Yeah.
He's an animal. He's a savage.
Yeah.
Like he goes out there by himself a bunch of times. He goes for like 3, 4, 6 day journeys, and he just hangs out with the grizzly bears.
I definitely underestimated him too, right? Like I was pretty cocky. I was like feeling really fit. I've been like hitting the gym every day for 6 months. Like I had like built a lot of new muscle up, but I wasn't the right kind of fitness. Like super fit, felt super fit, was eating really healthy. I just felt so strong and healthy. And I'd been like doing my first ever climbs up Mount Frome, you know?
Yeah.
But then I go do that and I'm like, oh man, I'm not even at the same level as him in terms of like bike fitness. I was just getting dropped.
Not many people are.
I was getting destroyed the whole time.
Yeah. Because you look at this guy and he's like a short little Estonian dude, you know?
Yeah.
And then he just goes.
Yeah.
And goes, but takes the best shots.
Oh, yeah. It was unreal.
He's an awesome dude.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun with him.
So that started you off on a whole bunch of adventure rides.
Totally. That kickstarted that really inspired me. Honestly, like Marcus inspired me a lot on that trip, and it made me want to do more travel because my confidence wasn't 100% there after Rampage, right? Like I was strong again as riding, but as you know, with really big injuries in the mental game can sometimes take a year or two to get back to where it was. And I was momentum going. I was in that stage where my confidence wasn't where it was, even if my ability was higher.
Yeah. So you went to Bali with Nick Pesquero?
Yeah, I actually met him down there. Yeah, him and Win Masters were down there.
What?
Yeah, it was really random. That was my first time meeting Win. That was in 2016.
Yeah.
End of 2015. So this was like probably a year after that trip.
Okay.
To Chilcotins, I was like learning more, filming myself more, kind of working my way up and getting invited to random things. And I got invited out to Bali through the Chill House. It was like a guy, Alex, who lives out there. He's a German dude, or Austrian, and he runs the Bali Bike Park. So he has a surf/yoga retreat, and then on the other side of the island, they run a bike park. And Nick Pesqueta was out there building sick freeride lines. Like, it was a small little mountain in the jungle, but he had like a big step-up jump and then like some speed jumps and big berms, and it was really cool. I went out there and just did some enduro rides, rode that little park, did shuttles out there, and
we made a volcano too?
Hit a volcano. We made a little video called Tropic Thunder, and Alex was so pumped he even made up t-shirts for us, or like tank tops with like lightning bolts and palm trees. It was pretty funny. Yeah, it was sick. I got to ride up a volcano at sunrise one morning. We like rode down the crater rim. It was insane.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that trip was like my first real like far out there trip, and then it made me want to do more of that. Right after that, I kind of like started brainstorming where I wanted to go, and then I would like.
Then you went to Peru with Haku Expeditions.
I went to Peru with Haku, yeah. So I heard Casey and Jeff were out there, and Mitch Chuby. So they were already on an excursion out there, but I came for like the second half of their trip and rode around Cusco and those rides for like the Inca Avalanche.
And Bill and Nicole know those places so well.
Oh yeah, that was so fun. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
And didn't Riga come down there too for that?
Riga was already down there when I got there, and he was the photographer, so that was really fun connecting with him again. And yeah, definitely pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I know what I'm getting into now. So, a little more of a controlled environment too. So that was awesome.
Yeah. Well, you end up probably doing a lot of shuttles as well.
A lot of shuttles. We did some climbs. Like, we did a couple of big rides where we went into like some really nice, like, in Peru, how you go from like high elevation to jungle pretty quick.
Yeah.
You get some really nice dramatic change in landscape. So we got some really like just nice landscape photos. Yeah, it was awesome. Really scenic out there.
That's awesome.
Really flowy trails too.
I'm actually I've been to Peru a couple times with Haku Expeditions with Bill and Nicole. And this year in November, I'm going to go to Ecuador.
Oh, nice.
And they said it's bigger vertical than Peru even.
Wow.
So I look forward to hanging out with them.
Yeah, nice.
So after that trip in Peru, you started doing more and more adventures.
Yep.
I think you did Tibet next.
I did. Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, that was like so cool how that came about. I was just at my friend's house one night, and his buddy came over, and he had all these like photos he was showing us from a trip he did in Tibet with his father-in-law. And this trip was really unique because there was no mountain biking that had been done out there before. It was a route they had made up, and it was a friends and family trip. So they were just like bushwhacking through the Alpine in Tibet and finding an epic single track. And I was like, man, is this an actual tour company? He's like, yeah, well, my father-in-law like runs a tour company called Extravagant Yak. But we just do hiking tours, but he wants to develop this mountain bike trip. He's like, you should hit him up, see if you can promote him. He'll let you come for free. Like, it's worth it. You have a big enough like audience online, like maybe it'll work out. So I ended up getting a phone call with the guy. His name's Jim Hamp, and he was really stoked to hear from me. He's like, I tell you what, I'll make you an offer because I can't afford to do that because I'm just like a startup business. He's like, but if you can get like 10 people or more to come join you on a trip and pay for a tour, he's like, I'll cover your flight and I'll give you a 10% commission of everyone who comes. So you'll make like over $2,000 to come to Tibet for the week, and you'll get to ride all this stuff for free. And I was like, okay. So not even trying to make it a media trip. I was like, okay, maybe I can get people to sign up. So one of the first people I hit up to make it easier for myself was Matt Yaki from Wandering Wheels. And I was like, yo, Matt, you know anyone who wants to come to Tibet? Maybe like the two of us can get enough people together, and maybe I can convince Jim to cover your flight as well. I'm getting paid. I don't know if he'd pay for you, but do you want to come to Tibet? And then right away, Matt got me a few people signed up. So that was a good start. And then we had a bit of momentum. And then I just promoted it on Instagram pretty heavily. And after 3 months, we had a full trip. We had like 12 plus people.
Nice.
It was awesome. And we went on a tour, and it was like insane riding, amazing riding. And yeah, it actually, one of the guests that came on that trip with me was a web and app developer, and he's a good friend of mine now. And we started the idea up of creating a platform where you can find unique trips like this that athletes help develop and promote.
What's that called?
It's going to be called Rove, and we're probably going to launch it this fall as soon as we get like all the tours kind of confirmed.
It's cool how things happen. Like
oh yeah, we want to have like at least 10 really epic trips like designed that are kind of unique, and have like a pro athlete attending them or recommending them. And once we get those kind of confirmed, we're going to launch the website. It's going to be really fun.
Cool. Rove.
Yeah, Rove. Yeah, it's going to be like explorerove.com.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the idea. And COVID's definitely slowed things down Travel's not on people's minds right now, but we're just taking our time with it, making sure it's going to be all about quality, right? It's not going to be about it's not going to be like an online Expedia. We're not trying to like profit off a million different tours. We just want to offer really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really excited.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
So the next year after Tibet in 2018, you went to Iceland.
Yeah, I did.
2 times in 1 year.
Twice in one summer. Yeah.
Twice in one summer.
Yeah, like a month apart. Or 2 months apart. One was like July, the other was September.
So you liked it so much you just had to go back.
Oh, I did. Yeah, that's like one of my favorite places in the world.
After being beautiful, eh?
So beautiful, so chill. It's like the whole country is more laid back than Vancouver Island. It's like
really?
There's less people, and it's crazy, man. Like I went out there, I got invited to go help a guy who runs a place called the Iceland Bike Farm. So his family owns 600 acres of land or more. It's huge property. Actually, it's probably even more than that. I'm probably way underestimating it. It's insane, and it's like beautiful, steep green canyons with waterfalls everywhere, and like flowy ridge lines that are just moss. And it's an old sheep farm that has been passed down his wife's family for generations. And the old sheep tracks make pretty good bike trails. And I had no idea what it was going to be this amazing, but he just messaged me out of the blue. He's like, I've seen some of your trail building just in your Instagram stories and stuff, and he's like, I could use some help building trails. Like, I'd hire you to come out and dig for me. You could stay at my house. It's like, oh, that sounds cool. Normally I went like to get a trail building job, but this sounds pretty neat. Maybe I'll go to Iceland. And yeah, it was cool. Went out for 2 weeks and built trails for him. And Chelsea actually joined me too.
Your girlfriend?
Yeah, she came out for a week, for a week of it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And she came and helped dig, and they like made us dinners every night, and we stayed at their house, and it was like 24-hour light in July. So we'd like work 9 to 5 hours, and then after 5 o'clock, we would take out their Land Cruiser and just go explore, because they were basically backed a national park behind their property. Wow. So like go across some rivers in the Land Cruiser, they just let us take it out. And we'd like go find like famous spots that we researched. And then we went to like an iceberg beach one night, and yeah, that was amazing. And the trails are really fun. And I decided I had to go back there. So I went back in September, visited him for a few nights, and then joined Chris Winter's Big Mountain Adventures Iceland tour. And I just did one of the regular tours just for fun, and joined the group and hit all the most epic spots in Iceland in a week. And yeah, after that I was like, I managed to pull off 2 Iceland trips for relatively cheap, and now I want to keep going, because that place is, yeah, dude, you got to go there.
Yeah, well, you invited me to go there once things, are back to
once things are
back to normal.
Yeah, once we get
I'd love really to go. Unique trip. The photos were amazing.
Yeah, I basically want to develop a trip that is my 2 experiences combined.
Yeah,
and it's like all the best riding with the cool spots.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So that was 2018, 2 trips to Iceland in one summer.
Yeah.
In 2019, you went to New Zealand, Australia, hit Tasmania, the Medina Bike Park.
Yep.
And then Israel as well.
Yep.
So, New Zealand's awesome. We know how awesome New Zealand is.
Yeah.
But when you went to Australia, you went to the Medina Bike Park.
I did, yeah.
And, our friend Reese is the bike park manager.
Yep.
And Simon French is the owner.
Yeah.
And I went there just before COVID. That was my last international trip before COVID.
So I think when you went, there was even more trails than when I went, because they were like building like crazy when I was there.
I think there's 62 trails when I was there.
There was still a ton, like more than 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Simon says, he goes, you know what, I've been building trails for like 15, 20 years, and I took all my money and I said I wanted to build a bike park. And I wanted to have it the most vertical in Australia, and it was on the island of Tasmania. So I went there, and he goes, Tippy, I could have just built like 3 or 4 trails and, built more as the business grew. But he goes, or I just go all in and build like 50 plus trails. So I went all in, and now there's 62 trails, and I'm like, holy, 62 trails? Are you serious? They're built, done already? He goes, yeah, they're good to go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what, really? He was like, yeah, we're not here to put shoes on caterpillars.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but it sounds like you're all in.
Yeah, I got the impression from him that he's like one of those more eccentric entrepreneurs, and which is awesome for mountain biking, right? Like he's like loves mountain biking, just gonna go for it. And it's pretty crazy what he put in there. Like in the elevation,
it's bigger than I expected to be.
Same. I got there. I was like, how long is this shuttle? Because we've been on the shuttle for half an hour. Yeah, it was crazy.
And they've got like, green circles, blue squares, black diamonds, like red triangles, like big pro jumps, and some double black diamonds. Like they've got a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, you don't get bored there. I was impressed. When I first got to Tasmania, the reason I made that trip happen is because I partnered with Tourism Tasmania.
Okay.
So I did some photos for them. I partnered with a few local photographers I know there, like my friend Simon McLean, who works for Medina Bike Park. He's a photographer as well. So he was taking photos for me on that trip.
Okay.
But the first spot I was supposed to go was Derby. And Derby in Tasmania has like amazing trails. And it's a really cool network. Yes. And I thought that's where I was going to spend most of my time. And then,
but it's a little more pedally oriented.
It's more pedally, yeah. But I just the impression I got before going there, I was like, oh, Derby's going to be the best spot. And Derby was amazing. But when I got to Medina, I was like, holy, like, this is a huge place.
There's another amazing spot.
This is like on its own level of like just the volume of it. Like it was so many trails.
Yeah, I think they got more trails than the Whistler Bike Park.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's insane.
That's
yeah,
nuts.
I loved it. Actually, I went down there and I got to ride. They invited me down, and then I got to announce a race.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so they had a race down there, and one of their trail builders actually is an insane rider, and he's super fast. And Sam Hill got him sponsored and said,
really?
This guy's got to be sponsored. So
yeah.
Just got him hooked up.
Yeah, they had a couple local races the week I was there, and a lot of those Medina locals, man. Like,
they're shredders.
They're insane. Yeah, they're so fast.
Totally.
Yeah.
So the Medina Bike Park rocked.
Yeah.
And then you hit New Zealand, of course. While you're down there, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, Queenstown.
Yeah. More insane mountain biking.
Yeah.
And good people, you know.
It's the Whistler of the South, man.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 And also Israel.
Yeah.
That's what a year that was.
Yeah, that was a crazy year. I'm glad I got all that travel in before COVID hit because I was pretty traveled out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Israel was a really unique experience and not what I expected at all.
Yeah.
Basically, I got invited for a fundraiser ride. There's a company called Gears. They're like an organization that raises money to help kids in Israel who have like learning issues. So like whether they're from like underprivileged homes or they have like autism or any sort of learning disability at all, they're really trying to get these kids in environments where they can ride bikes and be with friends and have fun, right? And like find a really nice, like just open environment for it and really friendly environment for it. And it was really cool because it was like all these like different groups of kids who had their own things going on. They're kind of battling a bit or working through. And it was awesome because they like find coaches that match the kids perfectly. And they start group rides for them. They get kids in groups that normally wouldn't be in groups together. And they get them out mountain biking like every night.
Cool.
And it's so sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we went to support that and they did a fundraiser ride. So we joined them on a fundraiser ride where a lot of other people come out and they pay a bunch of money to go on this week long, or it's like a 3-day adventure. And they just want some pros to come along. So I was one of the riders they invited out. And I came out, stayed with them, and I stayed a bit longer too and just did some volunteering, did some riding with the kids. It was super fun. And that was sick. And then we ended up doing a bit of photography down in the south of the country the last few days. We went down to a lot in Israel and crazy moonscapes, man.
It looks like
it's sick out there. Yeah. It was a pretty unique experience.
That's
the Middle East is a wild place, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I've only ridden in Turkey. So I haven't ridden in Israel myself yet.
Yeah.
The photos look amazing.
It was cool. Yeah.
So then COVID hits.
And
you're back home and you're riding on the island, and then, you're rediscovering where you're from.
Yeah.
And you find out that, hey, home's pretty good.
Yeah.
And you have some new little riding areas because, a bunch of the stuff was shut down, I guess. And so you made your own little riding areas and
for sure.
building your own trails.
Kind of what happened.
And then you did a pitch to Shimano for a trail called Blueprint. Tell us about
exactly. That. Yeah. So I'd already been like building quite a bit. Even right before COVID, I did the line. I did like a couple big jump lines around town, and then I'd been digging all year. Like from the start of 2020 onwards, I'd just been digging all year in this zone. And we had an idea for a trail build where the trail got built in front of the rider.
Like life cycles.
Like life cycles where the seasons changed, but instead of the seasons changing, the trail was being made.
Yeah.
And my friend Scott Bell, who I'd been shooting with for the last year or so, he had this idea. And I was building in a section that was like really deep in ferns so that you would cut trail fairly fast. So we did a test shot where we did stop motion. So we'd dig like a foot of trail, I'd pull the bike and my body away, and then he'd take a like a shot, and then we'd keep doing that. It was so time consuming, it didn't make any sense because we realized later you could just mask footage together, like complete, not complete.
Yeah.
And you just have to have similar conditions. We realized we could do the easy way afterwards, but we did this like stop motion effect with a trail being made, just a ribbon of trail, and then we pitched it to Shimano, and they're like, wow, that's so cool. They thought the concept was really neat, and they just like, they went for it. Yeah, like they were like, okay, yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Approved. Yeah. So then we had a bunch of other battles to get to, because the zone we had in mind was very fast building. It was like scraping moss off rock bluffs or adding a tiny bit of dirt into a berm that was kind of already naturally there. And we're like, yeah, we'll be able to do a video like this in 2 weeks. A week of digging, a week of shooting. And then we told Shimano where we were going to do it, sent them some photos. They're like, oh, that looks really cool, but like, this is all sanctioned and legal, right? We're like, oh, no. So we had to like go coordinate with the United Riders of Cumberland, go into the Cumberland network and do it legal, 100% legal.
Was that with Mike Monera?
That was with Dougal Brown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's the new kind of director up there.
Oh, okay.
And so Dougal helped us coordinate. He helped us find a location. And we were able to do it completely legal, like no gray area. It was like legit Mosaic Forest Management like gave us the land to use, and we had to pick from a ridge like what area we were going to go down, and we just did a bit of hiking and flagging, and a 2-week video idea turned into a 6-month project and a new trail for our community. So,
is that the trail that has 40 berms on it?
Yeah, there's probably like one section of it that splits, where it's a zigzag section, but if you count every single berm on the trail, there's more than 40 berms.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just amazing red dirt, and we just got carried away because even after we ran out of budget, we just kept working for free because we got so excited about the trail. The trail was like half done. We're like, well, we got to finish it. And we just kept digging every weekend basically up until late June, until it was done. So, I mean, it was an awesome project for staying busy during COVID. Totally. Close to home and just a sick new berm every week. Yeah.
I know. I've seen the footage.
Yeah.
So another thing that happened in 2020 that was amazing for you was you entered the GoPro Line of the Year. The best POV video, and you won first prize. First place.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, like voted by the people.
Yeah, that was cool.
And what trail did you use for that? And tell us about that. And
yeah, I used a jump line I had built a year prior to that, and I just went in there and I fixed it up a bit. That was a really unique trail because I was like, I was really inspired by Jordie's like rough AF edits.
Yeah.
And I wanted to build some like really gnarly hand-built stuff in the woods after seeing his first one. So I was kind of getting advice from him while building that line after I'd built like a big step up over, like, so I built a bridge over a creek, had a giant step up that hipped into some berms. And then I wanted to end the trail off, but I wasn't sure how to do that. So I was getting some advice from him on like wood radiuses for jumps, because he had built this one really boosty, sketchy, but will blast you to the moon jump at one of my old freeride zones in Victoria. And I was like in love with it, as sketchy as it was. So I kind of asked him for the dimensions of it. It was
sketchy, but you loved it.
Yeah. I asked him for the dimensions because like the landscape I was in, I was able to make the lip way taller than that even. So I just like followed the dimensions and kept going a bit higher with it. And I copied it, and and then I was on a trip while I was building that trail, but when I came back from that trip was like right after he had passed away, and I was like, oh, I gotta finish this jump. So like it's like rough AF inspired. So I just made that last jump as gnarly as I could, and his name. So
in honor of Jordie.
In honor of Jordie, yeah. I feel like a big JL in the middle of the gap. And made the lip as gnarly.
Love that.
Made the lip as gnarly as possible, and I still kind of hate that jump because it's sketchy, but. Oh man, it made really good footage for the line because it just like blasts you so high in the air.
Yeah.
And you're like, basically
that's at the end of the line.
You can't like trick it like normal trick it. You have to like come off it and like slowly pull up and just keep going, and then nose in at the end. Yeah, it just shoots you so high off the lip. Yeah. That was fun though. It made awesome footage because the line is running so fast.
Yeah. Oh,
it was like
hauling down.
Yeah. It's like a lot steeper than it looks in the videos too, right? You know, GoPro effect. It never shows the steepness of the forest. So
yeah, totally.
It was cool. Like really high speed through the trees and fast jumps. And
do you use a gimbal when on your GoPro?
Sometimes, but for that I didn't. I just had the GoPro Max.
Oh, the 360 cam.
The 360 cam, but for that shot I did the 360 cam with just one lens open.
Okay.
And just on my chest because it shoots so wide and it's so stable.
Yeah.
And that's what I did for that best line shot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it worked out really well. Like you don't get as high of resolution. It was like not 4K or anything, just 1080.
Okay.
But it looks really sick. It shows the bars and everything really well, and it's nice and stable. No gimbal needed.
You used to use a gimbal, but with the 360 cams, that built-in stabilization system is unreal.
Yeah, I mean, a gimbal's so annoying to wear. It's as good as it looks. I mean, I still think the gimbals look a little better, but they're a hassle. They're such a hassle.
If you touch it, just set it up.
Yeah, exactly. So I run a gimbal like every once in a while if I want to do like maybe a YouTube video where I'm not cropping in really tight. I just want to show everything really nice. Instead, maybe a more mellow trail where I don't mind a big clunky gimbal on me.
Yeah.
But if I'm gonna do like gnarly sending, just no gimbal ever.
Have you tried a GoPro 9 with the maxed lens?
Yeah, I actually just got that lens. I'm excited to try it some more.
How does that work? That's what I want to try.
Yeah, I played around with it once, but it was kind of in a darker environment, so it wasn't super stable. It was like a little shaky still.
It wasn't as stable as the regular max?
No, even in low light. So I don't know. Yeah. I got to play with it some more. I don't really have a good test yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm curious about that. Let me know. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, with COVID happening, and these great things like the Blueprint Trail with Shimano and winning the GoPro Line of the Year.
Yeah.
You're happy to be back.
Totally.
In BC.
Yeah.
And rediscovering how awesome it is in your backyard.
Yeah.
Riding the island, Vancouver Island, riding Sunshine Coast.
Yeah.
Riding Whistler, Squamish.
Yeah.
A little bit of the shore. Why would you want to go anywhere else? Like, it's awesome to go other places, for sure. There's beautiful places, but it's pretty nice here at home, too.
It is, yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but like being forced to stay at home made me appreciate home more.
Yeah.
Especially after like all these crazy adventure trips I went on. Like, anytime I was somewhere that wasn't here, I knew the riding wasn't quite as good as home. I was just really enjoying the experience, with Medina as an exception, because that place is crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't know, just like being stuck at home made me it made me explore locally more. And even this summer, like I'm just all over the coast of BC rather than even going to the interior. I'm just like staying around Whistler, Sunshine Coast, Vancouver Island, and hitting up all my favorite spots in those areas this summer. And it's so good. And I'm actually like probably riding my bike more this summer than like pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Because like you're not wasting any time traveling to places. You're just a couple hours drive here and there and you're somewhere awesome. And I'm really enjoying that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right on. Well, I guess you'd call it a staycation.
Yeah, exactly. Good staycation.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
I know, because I've been riding trails that I've ridden for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I've been riding stuff that I've never ridden.
Yeah.
Right here,
Yeah.
And I appreciate it more than ever as well. So, BC rocks, man.
Yeah, BC's good.
Well, let's wrap it up.
Sure.
But before we do, we have a little tradition here where the guest tells a joke. Have you got a joke for us?
Oh, man. Okay. Let's see here. Well, first of all, why is... let's see. Let me think here. There's so many funny dad jokes out there.
I know, right?
I have a fact for you first. Did you know that milk is actually the fastest moving liquid on Earth?
Really?
Yeah, you might know it. Milk. Yeah, it's pasteurized before you even see it.
Nice. It's pasteurized before you even see it.
Yeah.
I like that.
You like that one?
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
What kind of bees make milk?
What's that?
Boobies.
Boobies. Got time for one more?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's 3 potatoes standing on the street corner. How do you know which one's the prostitute?
I don't know.
The one that says Idaho.
Of course. Yeah. Why? Of course it is. Oh my God. What did the potatoes say to the vibrator?
What's that?
What are you shaking for? She's gonna eat me.
That's good.
Oh
man.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, thanks for that.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's some great stories, and I hope we can go to Iceland and do some riding in some beautiful locations like that, as well as here in BC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll see you out there.
Yeah. We'll see you out there.
Yeah.
You might go riding today.
Yeah. I mean, I'm up the mountain, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Mark, well, you're rocking and rolling, and I like checking out your Instagram. Make sure you follow Mark Matthews on Instagram. And it's been a pleasure having you here.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. It's a lot of fun.
We'll talk to you later.
Sounds good.
Mark Matthews, everybody.